works. Now we'll do one example and we'll see every aspect of class and object. Okay?
Mm. Okay.
Perfect. So let's get started. So let's say I have a class called books, let's say. Okay. Now this will have all the information about books. So if you are building a library kind of application, let's say. So in library kind of applications, you have books, which is individual entity. You have users, members, who's another individual entity, right? And you have to manage multiple classes in that
Okay.
kind of project, right? So for now,
Mm.
we'll just focus on
Mhm.
one class books, and we'll see different aspect of class today. And what I want to do is, if you get time, try to create a, a member class, okay, based on what we learned today in the in books class.
Okay.
And then if you get it done, we'll combine together to create a project later. Okay. Okay. So let's say I have a
Okay.
class book and I need to, okay, I need to um, count how many books are there, how many titles are there, right? So you can say title
Mm.
count or something, okay, equal to 0. Okay. So this is a variable which will store the title count of number. So as we add an object, we'll increase the value of this. So now tell me, okay, with the title count, okay, um, is is uh, is um, level variable or is a class level variable? Should it be object level or should it be a class level?
It's a class level.
It should be class level because yes, because you're talking about all the books, not just one specific book. If you talk about one specific book, it becomes object level. So what is the book title? What is the title of the book? Author of the book? Okay,
Mm.
those are specific to the book. So those will be your class level.
Okay.
Sorry, object level. This is about all
Okay.
the books. So it becomes a class level. Okay. So now we'll create
Mm.
a function. Okay. Now this function, a method, right? Rather, this method should be called to create an object. So I'm going to say def create object, or I'll say add book, let's say. Okay. So you're adding book to it. And of course, self will get added because it's object level. Now, what all things do you need to add a book? You need title, author, right? You can add a few more stuff. So for now,
Mm.
we'll just add, let's say,
Yeah.
title and author. So when you call this method, you have to pass two variables, which is title and author. Okay. Now I'm going to create this. You have
Okay.
not seen. Okay. Or maybe I think we did that last week. So I'm going to create object level title. Now see, this title is different. This title is different. This is title that you are going to, this is the value that you are passing to the method. This becomes object level variable, which is accessible to all the members of the class. Okay. So self title equal to title. Self dot author equal to author, right? So you have this. Now,
Mm.
okay. So let's say, you added a book. Now, let's say book is destroyed, I know, for some reason. Okay. Now, when you add this book, the count should also increase, right? The title count should increase by 1, right? So if you're
Mhm.
adding a book, the now you have one book, right? First object you create, you have one book. Second object you create, you have two books. So this books dot title count should increase by 1. Whatever it is, it should increase by 1. And since it's a class level, I'm using books dot title. Now, if you want to know how many um, books are there in the library. So if you want to know
Mhm.
how many books are there in the library, we need to create a method. Now this method will be a class level or object level?
Object level.
No, how many books is total over the class, isn't it? So it should be class level. Okay. who's the author,
Oh,
who's the,
okay.
what is the title, who's the author, it becomes the object level, right? Specific to a book. What is the title of the book? Who's the author of the book? Those are your object level, right? So, okay. So what we'll do here
Mhm.
is I'm going to create, okay, get author or something like this. Okay. So def, okay, get author, and here you pass the title, okay, and it will tell you return, okay, self dot author. Okay, so it will tell you, okay, author, or you don't even have to say title here. Directly you say, okay, object one, who's the author. So you'll say author is self dot author. So this is your object level, right? If you wanted to get the book title, let's I'm holding a
Okay.
book, okay, say B1 as object, and what is that title of the book? So you will say get title, right? So B1 dot get title will give us the title of the book, which is fine, okay? But if I want to know the
Mm.
count of the book, it is a class level, right? Okay,
Mm.
so to define a class, so we did all the three things except the fourth one in the last class. So this is, see how you do it. We do the class level method. So if you're doing a class level method, you have to say @ class method. This is how Python will know, okay, you're talking about a class method. If you do not put @ anything, just if you do a normal function, it is a object level method. The moment you put a class
Okay.
method here, @ that means the function that you're going to write just below, exactly below it, is a class level function, class level method. Okay, so I'll say here, but then rest of the things remain same. Def get book count or something. Okay, now you
Okay.
see this will have a different variable than this. So self, okay, see, and these variables you can have anything. Okay, you can put ABC also. Generally, practice is to put self here and CLS here. Class CLS for class, self for object. Okay, Python does not restrict. You can say ABC also here, ABC here. Doesn't matter. Okay, how do we know it's object level?
Mm.
Because we have not put @ sign. Here we are putting @ sign. This indicates that it's a class level.
Yeah.
Okay, but as I
Yeah.
said, general practice is to put self and CLS, so we'll continue to use. Even if you see self, you understand that's the object level, but it's not mandatory to put self. You can put whatever variable you want, okay, the name you want. Okay, now get book
Okay.
count. Okay, so this should return us number of books in the library. Okay, so get book count, I'll say return, okay, return CLS dot title count. So this will tell us how many books are there. So we created a function, we created a class with all 4 members that we discussed the other day. So this is your
Mm.
class level variable. These are your object specific variable. These are your object specific methods. This is your class level method. Okay, we have all this. Now let's create an object and see
Okay.
how it works. So I create an object B1, let's say book 1.
One
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Can you go up? The first one is class level variable.
Line number.
Def add books is object level variable or method variable, right? Because
Mhm,
count we get count,
mhm,
and the next one is object level method, and the next one is class level method.
mhm.
Is it
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So when you see self dot,
Mm.
it's object level method. If you have self dot means it's a object level variable. When you
Variable.
do not see self dot, you see just the name, or you see class name dot, or you see CLS name. This means these are class level. Okay. So since this is a class load, it can be accessed from multiple places. So when you call from multiple places, you have to call it differently. Okay, that's why I use the CLS dot books dot. Okay, self object level will always have self. Now functions, it has to have a bracket open and close. So these are your methods, right? All these are your methods. How to differentiate between class and object? Object will be normal. Class will have a class method written on top, at the rate class method.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to create a object called B1. And how do you create object of a class? B1 equal to books. So B1 object is created. Okay. Now you see, technically speaking, object is created, right? Now if I call B1 dot get book count, okay, and I'll say print number of books in the library equal to, okay. So what will I get?
Book count.
So what will be the output here? What exact value will be displayed?
1 second. B1 get book count. Can you go up? I think 1
Is it 1?
title and author. Because title underscore count plus 1, we gave 1, right? So
But where am
I'm
I
thinking
calling
we'll
add
get 1.
book? Am I calling add book? See, this
No.
count plus 1 is inside this method. Agreed? So we have to
Yeah.
call this method for it to get executed. Yes or no? We have
Yes.
to call add book method. Only then this will get executed. Correct? Are we calling add book
Yes.
anywhere?
No.
No.
So I think we'll get 0.
You'll get 0 only.
Oh.
Okay. Is it pointing to same P6? We're doing in P6. I'm running P5. Okay. So yes, you get 0 only. Right? Okay. So what is the problem here? See, we created, so logically, if you think, object is there. But the problem is we forgot to call add book. Correct? And here you have to give title. So I'm saying Python programming and author, let's say I give Swapnil, let's say. Now when you call, okay, what happened? So it says line number 21, it takes title and author, right? And I'm giving title and author. Okay, yes. So here they have to say bracket open. I missed that part here. So when you're creating an object, you have to always say bracket open and close in class name. Okay. I missed that part. That's why there's error. Now you see, now I'm calling add book, and add book is, okay, increasing the count here by 1. So you see, you get 1 here.
Yeah.
Okay. So now there's a chance that, okay, you can forget like this. Okay. Technically speaking, the moment object is created, the initialization should happen, right? So what we do, okay, Python provides a function called as init. So it says, okay, don't give add, instead you give underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Okay, underscore underscore init. So I told you that whenever you have underscore underscore something underscore underscore, they have an inbuilt predefined meaning. Okay, so what happens when you are using init function? Okay, underscore underscore double underscore init double underscore. This is automatically called when object is created. You don't even have to call it. it is automatically created. See, and book, add book, not and, add book. Okay, we had to call it in, okay. But instead, if you put it as init, then you don't have to call it automatically when you create an object. Okay, init is called. So it is always when you're doing this kind of initialization, right? It's always better to put it as init. And that's why init, it actually stands for initialization.
Okay.
So by default, this is called. So there's no scope for you to forget to call this. Now, add book is not there, so I'll comment it out. Now, if you run here, this is giving error because when you're creating the object, if there is a input parameter that init needs, has to be passed in this function, in this bracket. Okay, so when you create an object, when you say book 1 equal to book or books here, in the bracket, you have to pass the parameters that init needs. Okay, you cannot create an object until you pass the values that init needs. So I'll copy this, okay,
So,
and I'll
sir,
pass
so
it
we are
here.
not mentioning self, right?
We are not mentioning what?
Oh, you're placing Python program, putting the title and author in those brackets.
Yes. So all the parameters that
Oh,
init
you just
need has to be passed to this. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Now you see, if we did not call init, still now you can see the library count is increased by 1. So everything that should happen by default is added in init. All the initialization, okay, happens in init.
Okay, that is default one, right?
Default. It is default. It is called.
Okay.
Okay. Now I want to know. So B1, right? I can create B2, B3, B4, any number of objects you want. Let's create 3 objects for now. So I'm going to say B2, B3. Okay. Okay. I said. Okay. Let's say I give like this. Now I want to know how many books in the library. How many books are there in the library now?
1. Like now 3 because we gave
Yes.
B1, B2, B3.
Correct. So this should give. What should the value be? What it will come? Let's see. But what should it give?
3.
It should give 3, right?
Mm.
It gave 3.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. If I paste it after B1, it will give 1. If I do after B2, it will give 2. If I do after B3, it gives 3. Because see, I'm saying B1 dot get book. Even though you're saying B1, it doesn't matter which object is calling get count because it is about the class. Right? So I told you class will variable. Whether if I ask you, the population of human population on earth, whether I say or you say, it has to be same. But if I want to get the name of object 1, so you have get title, right? So if I say print title of the book, okay. Now in this case, if I say B1 dot get title versus B2 dot get title will be different. Because if somebody asks me my name and asks you your name, it will be different. So if they're asking B1 dot get title, it should be Python programming. And if you say B2 dot get title, it should be data science programming. Right? See?
Yeah.
Because these are specific to the object. Okay. So population, if they ask you and me, answer should be same. But if they ask name, which is object level, your answer, my answer should be different. That's why when I say B1 dot get title is different than B2 dot get title. Here, whether you say B1 dot get book count or B2 dot book count or B3 dot book count, it all has to be same.
Okay.
So, okay, if I say here B1 and B3, okay, has to be same. 3, 3, right? But B1.getTitle is different than B2.getTitle. Okay, this is how a class generally works. Okay, so once you define the value here in the init, okay, those values are associated with each object and can be accessed from anywhere. See, we are not passing the author value here. We are not passing the title value here. It is able to pick automatically. That's the beauty of class. Okay, class is like the way we actually live, right? So you have things at your home, right? Something that you get today, okay, you get a bread today, okay, that will be there till you finish it, right? I've created a title and author here. It is always accessible. You cannot say, no, 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 I created a title and author in it, so how can I get it here? No, it's all your house. Whether you put it in fridge or you put it on in kitchen doesn't really matter. It is your house and you can access it when you want. That's the beauty of, okay. Otherwise, if you have to use different functions, you have to keep passing the values. You have to keep maintaining that database. Okay. If you have 100 objects, you'll have 100 author, 100 title, it becomes mess. Here, with one title and one author, we can maintain hundreds of objects. It's the same author, it's the same title. Just that object 1.title will be different, object 2.title will be different. Okay, that's why we say that class and objects is important programming thing. And if you want to practice all the things that we have done so far, try to convert into class and objects. Okay, so this is how class works. Now we look at some properties of class and objects. Some properties. Okay, one of the most common property we say is your inheritance. Okay, so what is inheritance? Inheritance is property, of a class being accessed or inherited by another class. Okay, so let's say this is book. Now I create one more class here. Okay, I'll create one more class here called class library. You want to take some water? I'll wait, no worries.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So let's say I create class library. Okay. And here I define, okay, I define def init, okay, and I'll say library name. Okay, and here I'll say self dot library equal to library. This is library name. Okay. And here I'm going to write one more method, simple method, def get lib name, something like this. Okay, and I'll say return self dot library. Okay, that's the name of the library. Okay, now I'll have different, so it will have staff and closing time, opening time, all those things. So I'll define everything there. I've created books separate class and library separate class. They are two different class. Okay, so if I have to call library, okay, I will have to create object for library, and it needs one variable, right? Library name. So I'll say ABC local library, something like that. Let's say this is the name of the library. So now if I say print library name equal to L1 dot get lib name. Okay, ABC local library, you get it. So these are two different classes. Now let's say your book class also needs to have library name. You're managing book class, okay, and your book class needs to have library name. Okay, now you already have a class which manages library. Okay, and now I want books also to have library. Now instead of copying and pasting same stuff here, instead of saying the comma library and paste it here, I told you in programming world, we do not duplicate things. As much as possible, we want to keep a single copy. Okay. Maintenance of single
Okay.
copy is easy. Okay. Tomorrow, if you have to go and change some logic, you know exactly where to go and change. Otherwise, you'll have to change it 100 different places. Not possible. Okay. So always have one copy. So what object-oriented programming says is, okay, if library has all this information and you want to keep all those information, inherit it. Okay, inheritance. So we'll say make books as a child class of library. We say base and derived class. Derived class is like your children classes, right? So, you know, obviously the way it works is if your father has something, that is yours also, isn't it? You can use your father's stuff. Let's say if you don't have your car, you can use your father's car, right? So something like this. Now here library has this library name. So I'll make book as a child class of library. I'll make book as a child class of library. Now what happens is, since book is pointing to, so we say books, okay, B capital, books is a derived class of library class. Library is called base class. So in this case, library is your base class and book is derived class. All the properties of library is now available to books. Okay. Now, when I say here, B1 dot title author, you see, and library is from where? Library class. Now it is, see, B1 dot is giving us that. Now, if you do not do this, right? Now, if you say B1 dot, see, you don't see library. Don't see library, right? You don't see library, you don't see, you know, get a library count. Now, moment I say that it is, okay, it is derived class of library, all the members of library class is also available. You see, library, get lib name. Now, when I say get lib name, okay, it's going to give us error because lib B1 does not, we have not given lib name to, lib name is object specific. So when we created B1, we did not add lib name, right? So what we have to do here is, okay, we have to, when you create an object of B1, you need to create a lib name. Okay, that's when this will be available. Now, you create lib name, and instead of saying self dot lib name, okay, so see, anyway, self dot lib name is here, right? So you don't have to specifically call this. You call the init of, init is also called as constructor. In Java and C++, we call them as constructor. Okay. In Python, we call it as init. So sometimes you will see the word constructor. So when you hear the word constructor, it means init. Constructor is a method that is called automatically when object is created. The moment object is created, it's called automatically. Okay. So init is also called as constructor. And each class will have only one constructor in Python. You know, others they'll have multiple, but in Python does not allow multiple constructors. Okay, you'll have only one constructor. If you write three constructors, the last one that you write init 3 times. The last init is valid, the other two init is ignored. But in Java, C++, you can create multiple constructors, and you can access based on the number of parameters. Okay, you can have one init with no parameter, one init with two parameters, one with one parameter. So if you pass one parameter init is called. If you pass two parameter init is called. But in Python, no. Python does not allow multiple init. Okay, you will have to have only one init. Okay. Now coming back here. So now I need to call this, instead of saying self.libname equal to libname, we'll call the parent or base class init. So how to call base class init? Class name library dot, okay, underscore init, and you pass this libname. Okay. Now when you run it, okay, this itself will fail because it is expecting us to give lib name. So I give this lib name as, say, XYZ library. Okay, and let's assign same value. Now you see, you can use default keyword that we discussed about, default value that was given functions. You can say, if no value is provided, use XYZ library. So you don't have to give here if it is XYZ library. So if you don't provide, it will take XYZ. If you provide, then it will take the one that you give. Now when you run it, okay, line 28. Wait, I made a mistake here. When I what happened? What did it say? B1 equal to books. Okay. Init lib name, init missing one requirement argument library. Missing one. Oh, sorry. So see, here when you call, right, you have to add self. This is the problem. Okay. Okay. When you call this, you have to add self here. Okay. Otherwise, what happens? This lib name goes to self, and it says lib name is missing. Okay. You have to add self. No, it works fine. Now, the other thing that we wanted to do, the default one, right? Let's give the default value to this. That means if you don't pass lib name, it will take XYZ. If you want to pass some other, like PQR, so it will be PQR.
Okay.
Okay. So now when you say here B1 dot get lib name, you will get B1, which is XYZ, right? So print B1 library is. Okay. And you run it, you get B1 is XYZ. Okay. So this is how you use inheritance. Okay. Inheritance.
Okay.
I want to talk about inheritance. Wait, give me a second. So what we have seen is, okay, we have one class here and we had another class, correct? And we said that, okay, this class inherits properties from this class. This becomes your base class. Okay, this becomes your derived class. Few properties. One, you can have any levels. You can have base class, derived class, another derived class. You can have another derived class. Okay, D1, let's say, and D2. Okay. Any level. You can have a base class here, another independent class, which is base class, and this D1 can inherit properties from both derived and base. Okay. Okay. So you can have any kind of combination, So how to manage here? So let's say in programming, if books accesses, let's say book has both derived and B1. So you will say, okay, class D1. In the bracket, you will say derived, comma, B1. That means class D1 inherits both from derived as well as B1 class. You can inherit properties from more than one classes. Okay, you can be parent class or base class of more than one, right? So you can have one more class here and this can be derived, right? So any kind of combination is possible. Okay. Now, when you derive, parent class properties are available for its children class. That means if you talk about D2 here, D2 will have its own properties, plus it's like you making your own property. If you make your own property, that's yours. Plus your parents' properties are also yours. Plus your parents' property, grandfather property is also yours. Plus your grandfather, great grandfather, okay, this property is also yours. So you will have access to all these properties and even B1, because D2 is from D1 and D1 also derives from B1. So D2 will also have properties from B1, isn't it? So all the like your father, this is how I call it. See, in Python we say level 1, level 2, level 3 inheritance, or you say father, grandfather, great grandfather inherit levels, right? All these are available to you. Okay, everything is available. Okay, that's the beauty of inheritance. So okay, when you inherit a class, the class will have access to all the properties of parent class. Okay, now so that's the first
Okay.
point, right? All the properties of parent class or base class is available. Okay, now second property is, if you have property with same name, same property in your class, let's say this has property called draw, let's say method draw, and you also have a draw. If this also has a draw, this
Okay.
also has a draw, then this is what you will take and this you'll ignore, right? Let's say if you have your own car and parents' car, then you will not take your parents' car. You will have your own car only. When you don't have your car, then you'll take parents. If your parent doesn't have a car, then you'll take grandparents. So it goes on like that. If you have your own property, then this is not accessible. It is available, but you have clash, right? This or this. So it is always the nearest one. So let's say you don't have, let's say you have print as a function here. Okay, so you don't have print. Okay, but this has print and this has print. So this both has print. So both print is accessible to you. So which print you will use? The one that is nearest to you. So this print is ignored by D2 and D2 will take this print.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's say print is not here. Now this print is here and this print is here, same level. Then which print will be accessed? Okay, when you call this, you're calling D1 bracket, right? Derived and then B1. So since derived is called first, these properties will be available to you first. Okay. So we always look at the near. When you have multiple options, one that is nearest to you is what you pick. Remember this.
Okay.
So when you create a derived classes, derived and base and derived class concept will exist in inheritance. All the properties are available and okay, you can choose which one. So it is always the nearest one is chosen by you. You can only take the nearest one. So if you have it, then even though you are accessing other methods, but those methods will not be available to you. Okay, this is from your derived class property. Okay, now as a parent class, you can choose not to
Hello. Hello.
okay. So I was saying that okay. So now this is from the derived class property, derived class perspective. Everything is available.
Saurav,
Yes.
I just didn't heard your voice before.
Yeah, I was on mute. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so I was saying that derived class from perspective, whatever we discussed, that's from derived class perspective. Okay, it is everything is available, and the nearest one is available. Now look from the parent base class properties. Look from the base class perspective. What base class says is, I don't want to give you, right? So I said your parents' property is available to you, but your parent can say, no, I don't want to give. Parent can say, I don't want to give. right? So it is possible. So we call them access modifiers. Access modifiers. You are modifying the accessibility. So there are three types of access modifiers: public, private, and protected. Okay, public, private, and protected. So there are three types of modifiers. So all three concepts are there, but Python has not enforced protected. So theoretically, all three are there. Okay, but practically protected is same as public. Okay, Python has not made protected implementation. Okay, and I'll tell you how these are done. So public means when you say, oh, let's say you create a swimming pool in your house and you say this is public swimming pool. That means anybody can come, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you say this method is public, that means anybody can access. Your family member can also access. Somebody who's not your family member can also access. So you don't need to have base or derived class to access public member. Anybody can access. Somebody who's not in your family can also access. So this is called public. And the way we have declared all the variables so far are all public variables. Public variables will be written as like library, title, like this. Now, private. Private means it is only applicable to you. Okay, your children cannot access. Now, see here, the accessibility is always top down, not bottom up. That means, base class cannot access derived class properties. So parent will never ever can have access to children's property. But children will have access to parents' property. Parent will never have. So when you say base and derived will get the properties from base, but base class will not get properties from derived. Okay, point one. Point two, but base class say, yes, I don't want to give you. It is my property and I don't want to give you. So then they have to make it private. So to make something as private, let's say in library, in leave name, library says, no, library is private. I don't want to give you private. I don't want to give you leave name. You have to use double underscore leave name. In the variable names, you see when you have double. So this side, there is no double underscore. On the right side, you will not have double underscore. Right side and left side, both double underscore means it's an inbuilt predefined value. Do not reuse it. Okay. You use it only when you know, like init, use it only you know what init means. So they have predefined values. But if you want to make it something private, not accessible by anybody, you put double underscore before the name and it becomes a private. Even your children cannot access it. Your derived class cannot access it. Parent will anyway not have access. Derived will also not have access. So parent can control the accessibility using making it private. Okay. Even see public cannot access. Even your family members cannot access. It's only available to you. Protected, the concept is that it is only applicable to your family members. You make a swimming pool, so you say only my family members are available. Other people are not allowed. So you put single underscore. Okay, but Python has not implemented it strictly. That means it behaves like public. Anybody can access. Okay. So you have three types of modifiers: access modifiers, public, private, protected. Public, as the name suggests, public, anybody. Private, as the name suggests, only to you, nobody else, not even your derived class. Protected is your only derived class. Nobody else except your derived class, nobody else can access. That concept is there. Implementation is not there in Python. So let's go back to our code and we'll talk about it. And that will be our last topic for the day. So, okay. So let's say you have library. Now you have this get lib name, right? Now I can print here. Okay. I can say print lib, okay, lib name equal to b1 dot get lib name, because these are all public property. And okay, since b1 is book is derived class of library, b1 can access library members. Okay, all these variables you see are all public because we have not used underscore. Now let's say you can even, okay, let's say there is another class. Let me call another class. Okay, I'll say class sample. Now class sample is not inheriting. This is different. Okay, there is no linkage to the other two classes. And here I'll call def sample method. Okay, and here I'm going to say, okay, let's say, let me call another method here, def method to something. Okay, and I'll say print I am in library. Okay, so I said method 2, which is library, right? Now method 2 will be accessible to b1 also. So I'll say here print method 2 by books. So I can say here b1 dot method 2. Okay, for now let's just say pass here. Okay, so okay, method 2 by books, okay, none, because it is not returning anything. That's why it said. Okay, now let's return something. Okay, we'll go here and method 2, where's method 2? Up. Okay, instead of printing, let me return that this text. Okay, so now when you run it, it says I'm in library. So I created a method 2, which is public, and of course, you know, I don't have to test because library will anyway have access. Books have access to it, right? Now I'll create a sample object. Sample, and you say now call by sample, and I'm saying s1 dot, you see sample method is available, right? Now the sample method, what I'll do is I will say here library dot method 2. Okay, when you said library dot, you see method 2 option here, it is displayed, right? So I call it.
Yeah.
Okay, and now when you run, okay, method 2 by books, no, I'll call by sample s1 dot sample method, call by sample. Okay, there's error here, missing one required. Okay, so when you call this, you have to say self. Okay, so call by sample.
Okay.
You're getting call by sample here, none, right? Okay. Now, so see, this method 2 is being called by sample, which is not a derived class of library. Yes or no? Sample is not a derived class of library. It is still, it is able to call this. Okay, it's not giving us error. Now I'll make this as, okay, protected. So I said protected will have one single underscore. So method 2, I said one single underscore. I'm making it protected. Now protected means, okay, the member should have access, derived class should have access, but some other unknown class will not have access. So now when you go to sample here, okay, now when you say library dot, do you see sample here?
No.
No, because protected members are not accessed outside of that family.
Okay.
But what did I say? Python has not implemented. That means even if you go, see, I say no suggestions. Okay. Still, if you method 2, right? What do we call method 2? But still, you say no. I
Yeah,
want to
method
call
2.
it. You want to call it?
Hmm.
Okay. Self, right? Oh, what is the spelling? Method 2, right? Method 2. Okay. Books. Okay. This is creating problem. Okay. Because we changed the title, right? So we changed the name, right? See, no error.
Okay.
So even though it was not suggesting us there, right? But still I could call it. So this is why we say that protected will not show up, but still callable. Okay. So that means that protected concept exists, but not strictly implemented. Maybe in future they can make it strict, but at least now it is not implemented. Okay. Now coming to this one, B1 dot, if you say underscore, you see method 2 is visible here. Why it is visible? It was not visible there because sample is some other third class, not linked to that. But it is visible here because B1 is a derived class of library. So derived class is available. Protected means, your family members can use it. So it is visible. See, though concept wise it should not be, but it still sample could use it, right? So sample called. Okay. Now you see here it is visible as well.
Okay.
Right? So this is what we say protected members. Okay. Concept is that it should only be called by members belonging to that group, but okay, it's not implemented in Python. Okay. Now we'll make the same method as private. Private means what? You have to say double underscore. Okay. And when you say double underscore, okay, I'll comment this out for now. And here I'll go and I say double underscore. Private means what? It is not accessible by anyone. When you run it, it says error. Library has no attribute, method 2. It's hidden. It says we do not have it. Even though it has it, okay, it will not show up. So private members will not show up. Okay. So the private members will not be accessible. So what I'll do is instead of using method 2 itself, okay, let me add one more, method 3. So that, you can have copies of all these types. So I'm going to call it as declared as protected. Double underscore method 3. I'm in library by method 3 private. Can't be accessed outside of this class by anyone. Okay. So here when you say sample method 2, okay, what did we call this as? Method 3. So okay, so method 2 will have no problem. Okay, you can call method 2. But when you go to method 3, okay, sample here. Now when I say I create another function called sample method 2 or 3, and here I'll say double underscore method 3. Okay. Private members are not accessible. So this will give you error saying, okay, we have not called method 3, right? So sample dot method 3. Sample 1 dot method 3. Okay. It says has no method 3. Okay.
Hmm.
Throws error as private members can't be accessed. Same thing will happen if you call this one here. Okay. Error. Okay. Private members are not visible, right? Okay.
Hmm.
So this is called access modifier. So what we have seen classes being inherited, and we can have multi-level inheritance. That means, you can have one class derived another, that class can be derived from another class, so on. Okay. And when you derive a class, all the members of the parent class is accessible to the derived class. Okay. But not vice versa. Derived members are not accessible by parent class.
Okay.
When you have one option, more than one option, when you have, availability of more than one option, you will choose the one that is nearest to you. So if you have your own property and your parents' property, by default, you will use your own property, not parents' property. Okay, you have to call parents' name if you
Yeah.
want to use parents' property. But by default, it is your property which is getting
Yeah.
executed. But parent can have a restriction on the accessibility. If parent makes it private, then you can't access. How can parent make it private? By adding double underscore. Double underscores are private members not
Hmm.
accessible outside of the class. Public members can be accessed by anybody, not only derived class, but by any other class also can access. Okay, so this is how inheritance work. Okay, we'll stop here.
Okay.
And
Yeah.